We have just learned that more money is being spent, of course, in Ukraine. It comes, as we just also learned, over the weekend. They tried to bury this story, but I saw it, that the defense minister in Ukraine is being fired again. I believe this is the second one. They've fired some deputies along the way as well, and he's being fired for graft. Because you see, there's some kind of deal there where they overcharge the U.S., and then they pocket the difference, and off they go to Dubai to live happily ever after. I mean, this is not good because it's our money. It's our taxpayer money, regardless of what you think about Ukraine, regardless of what your stance is on that. I would just say this. We are all responsible people. We are all responsible citizens. Ought we not to demand more from our lawmakers to make sure that these guys over in Ukraine are responsible? Thank you very much with our dollars. Here's Jake Sullivan out this week saying everybody's good with this. You know, everybody in the House and the Senate, they're all on board. Everybody's willing to spend the money. Listen.
Our view is that the strong bipartisan support for Ukraine in the Congress, in both the House and the Senate, has been on evidence, has been on display, not just in the past votes for Ukraine funding, but in the current public statements of critical members of both parties in really important positions in the Senate, as well as key chairs of committees in the House. And so we believe that there is still, while there are some dissonant voices, a strong core on a bipartisan basis of support for ensuring that we continue to provide Ukraine with the support that it needs, because it's fundamentally in America's national interest to do so.
So he says everybody's on board. Everybody in Congress, everybody in the Senate, everybody's in line. So we got out of Afghanistan, obviously in quite a rush. It was a debacle. I mean, I rarely cry over the news. I'll let that out there because, you know, I've been around this forever and I've kind of seen a lot up close and personal, literally. And I was really just devastated by what happened in Afghanistan and our rush out. And it seemed to be very contrived. In other words, there was this desire to make a deadline or to beat the deadline, right, on the 20th anniversary of Afghanistan. So we rushed out of the place. And in doing so, the horror that was left behind and continues to be left behind, because, by the way, if you believe in women's equality, there's no way for 2 seconds you can say it's fair what's going on in Afghanistan for young girls. Anyway, we hightailed it out of that. And what did we do? We went running into this. And again, I'm not going to debate all the reasons why and the fear that, you know, somehow Russia's going to take over the rest of Europe if we don't come to Ukraine's aid. But I am going to ask you why we are sending now depleted uranium rounds. Depleted uranium rounds. This is like some serious stuff. And if you look it up online, you know, they're not actually banned in war, but they're not actually welcomed because they're really darn toxic. This is toxic stuff that you have to be extremely careful with. I'm going to share with you something just from the International Peace Bureau talking about uranium rounds, depleted uranium. While depleted uranium, it reads, is less radioactive than natural uranium, you'd think, it still retains all the chemical toxicity associated with the original element. In large doses, the kidney is the target organ for the acute chemical toxicity in this metal, producing potentially lethal tubular necrosis. Okay, so this is bad stuff. I mean, this is coming from the guy that's Mr. Environment. And now they're going to go forward with these depleted uranium rounds over there in Ukraine, something that CNN picked up on and asked the State Department. They sent out some deputy spokesperson. She couldn't really answer this. She thinks we got to trust the Ukrainians who are like siphoning off all the money there in the Defense Department, that we have to keep firing these people over and over again. Listen.
The United States is expected to announce a military aid package that for the first time will include depleted uranium munitions. This is a military aid package going to Ukraine. It will include depleted uranium munitions. That is according to a UN official. With me now is Deputy Pentagon Press Secretary Sabrina Singh. Sabrina, great to see you. And look, these depleted uranium rounds, they can pierce armored plates like those found on tanks because they're made of a highly dense metal, but they are mildly radioactive. So what do you say to those who suggest, A, this is an escalation in the type of weaponry being sent to Ukraine, and B, what about the environmental concerns?
Well, thanks, John, for having me. It's great to be with you. Again, I'm not going to get ahead of any announcements that the Pentagon hasn't made yet today. But what I will say is these rounds are standard use in the tanks that not only the U.S. uses, but that we will be providing the Ukrainians. And if they are included in the packages that are coming forward in today or in the coming weeks, we have absolute confidence that the Ukrainians will use them responsibly as they fight to take back their sovereign territory in the east and the north as well.
Okay, they're going to be super responsible, just like they were super responsible with our U.S. tax dollars, putting it in their own pockets, for goodness sakes. I mean, guys, give me a break. What is it, right? You know, you're out there insisting that we have so much deference for the environment. How is it that I'm suddenly becoming the environmentalist? How is it that I'm the one who's like, wait a second, you're sending depleted uranium toxic material to Ukraine? Hey everyone, Trish Regan here. If you enjoyed that clip, please do me the favor of subscribing to the channel. Just hit that little subscribe button right over there. Did I do that right? Not quite, but you know where it is. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so that you get the alerts, and I'll see you back on the show.